Morning, dear respected Thai Sangha. It's about time to start. We can warm up with the announcement that we will read Thai's poem Oneness in English. So for other languages, French and so on, please look at the poem Oneness. So this is last minute inspiration, so I did not send you the message. So understand this. Let's start with the three sounds of the bell. And, enjoy our breathing, enjoy our togetherness. Yeah. Good morning, dear respected Thai, dear beloved community. Today is the 15th of June 2022, and we are in a full moon meditation hall in New Hamlet on the 13th day of the retreat. Tomorrow is the last day, so-called last day. There will be continuation, of course, in many ways. Today we will continue with the topic Plum Village Dharma Seals. And we have talked and shared about the first Dharma Seal. I have arrived, I'm home, by Sister Chân Đức and Thai Pháp Hữu. And Sister Đình Nghiêm follow with the second one, flowing as a river. And now we will explore the third one, times, truths, inter are. Times, truths, inter are. The three times, they are connected to each other. They are not separate. And that insight is possible with the practice of mindfulness, dwelling happily in the present moment. I have arrived, I'm home. So, the heart of that insight is mindfulness. So we have here our future, and our future can be in front of us, and our future can go to us. Here we are, the present. The future is coming to us. That is another way of saying. We can say also, we are going to the future. So both is possible. And when the future becomes the present moment, then it becomes the past. And the past again become the future and back to the present moment. And we have said that the energy of mindfulness, concentration inside, is making this possible. So we dwell happily in the now, in the present moment. And this present moment is made of mindfulness, concentration inside, and embracing the 3 times. For example, when we look into our hand, everybody, then we see this is our hand, but at the same time our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors' hand. Yeah. So the past is in this hand. Our ancestors are in us. And by the way we are living, we are transmitting the presence of ourselves and our ancestors to the future generation. And in the future generation, we see also our ancestors as well. Yeah? So the 3 times they are. We have the question, is the egg first or the chicken first? And then we have found out that the chicken and the egg, they are. Right? And with that insight, we can dwell happily in the present moment. With that insight, our ancestors, our descendants are in us. We feel full, we feel happy, we feel loved, we feel gratitude, and at the same time humble. And we also have a chance, an opportunity to take care for our ancestors, the past, and for the future, our descendants, by dwelling happily in the present moment. I have arrived, I'm home, by coming back to ourselves. And we do it together with our ancestors and our descendants. And it's the same with our spiritual ancestors. Yeah. So we can say that we can go both directions. The present can become the future. Yeah. What we plan today will manifest tomorrow. And the future become our past, our heritage, our foundation. our seat and that come back here. And please keep in mind, this is not only an individual way, it is also a collective. Yeah? Remember our ancestors, our descendants are in us. Keep that in mind. In the past, our ancestors may have struggled, suffered, and transmitted their suffering to us. And we heritage their suffering. And now it is a chance for us to take care for their suffering together with them by the practice of mindful breathing, by the practice of recognizing, the practice of understanding and generating compassion for ourselves, for the suffering in us relating to our ancestors. And by doing that, we transform the suffering for our ancestors as well. We can have a positive effect on the past and build a better past. And by taking care of the suffering of our ancestors in us, then we have a chance to transmit the fruit of understanding and love to our family, to our descendants. And the ancestors, they are present in the family, in the descendants as well. And here in Plum Village, we make use of the spiritual family to do that. That is our fortune. Thai have built this community, the practice, and we make use of that to take care for our genetic suffering. Yeah. So far, is it okay? Okay. We can move on. There are a lot of dishes waiting for us, or they are coming to us. So we would like to make use of the time. And today we have Sister Chai Ngim ready to play a violon for us to enjoy the delicious meal, Dharma meal. Let's enjoy the song, I Have Arrived, I'm Home together. Wonderful. Thank you, Sister. So keep this in mind that I have arrived, I'm home, dwelling in the present moment. We have the eternity We have all the time needed to take care for ourselves. We move on the truths in the R. I would like to quote Thai love for a sister. She was encountering quite a lot of difficulty, and Thai has tried to help her, but it was quite difficult. And then Thai said to her, I have 1,000 years for you. It means I have all the love, the patience, and the insight. The 3 times they enter are. So Thai is dwelling happily, lovingly in the present moment. That means forever. To be there for her. And of course for all of us. And that is the spirit of our ancestors. In your tradition as well. Now we move on with the inside the truths in the R. The truth, then we have the Four Noble Truths. And that is, in the tradition, that is the awareness of suffering. This is suffering. And the causes of suffering. That go together. The first truth, awareness of suffering. Second truth, the causes of suffering. Yeah? And that we do with the energy of mindfulness, concentration, and insight. And by understanding, acknowledging suffering and the causes of suffering, then we may find a way to take care for the suffering, to love and to transform, like making use of the compost to cultivate flowers, making use of the mud to cultivate the lotus. And that flower is happiness. And this happiness is based on understanding and love of suffering. And this happiness has its way, we call it the way of happiness. And this way of happiness is the Noble Eightfold Path. Now you can imagine the mindfulness training, aware of the suffering caused by I'm committed. You see that? This is the way Thai has made use of the Four Noble Truths to give rise to mindfulness training. And this way of happiness is the Noble Eightfold Path. Today we don't go into this path, but mindfulness, concentration, insight are part of the Noble Eightfold Path. Yeah? So this is one way. And on the highway, we have another way back. And that is very, very typical, very remarkable of Plum Village practice. That is cultivating happiness, dwelling happily in the present moment. Is so crucial because without happiness, based on mindfulness, concentration, insight, then we have nothing to take care for suffering, isn't it? But we are so eager to jump into the mud. Okay, let's swim in the mud and cultivate happiness, cultivate lotus, and we get drowned in the mud. Oh, help, help. We learn from that, right? Oh, I would die. No. Okay, I stop here. Make use of the time. So cultivating happiness based on mindfulness, concentration, insight, we are nourishing ourselves and at the same time healing suffering. Nourishing and healing at the same time. One breath and one step. I have arrived. I'm home and I nourish my peace, my happiness. I can be myself. At that moment, we are nourishing and taking care for our suffering. Yeah. So this way is very organic. You see? It's round. We don't throw the compost away. We don't throw the suffering away, but make use of the suffering. With the conditions, we dwell happily in the present moment. Like Thầy Pháp Linh say, how can I dwell happily in the present moment? There is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. And that is an awakening. If we don't make use of that awakening, then we dwell happily in the suffering. Oh, I am only suffering, and so on and so on. Yeah? Keep that in mind. Make use of the practice in such a way that you can nourish yourself with happiness, with peace, right away. Is there... I don't dare to ask you for your question because we move on. Huh? I think you understand that. Maybe we may like to ask Sister Changim to play Happiness is Here Now. So wonderful Dharma instrument. We can sing along. Yes, thank you, Sister Changim and the Sangha. Then I have a time to breathe and and let the star consciousness working. It came up during the song with the right view. Right view is one element of the Noble Eightfold Path. That is understanding. And with this right view, with each, the Buddha said, this is because that is. Or we can say the insight of interdependent co-arising. This is because that is. Yeah? With this right view, when we recognize suffering, then we are not drowned in the suffering because we understand, we have already the insight that the suffering is there because the causes of the suffering is there. Yeah? It's like the lotus leaves. They are not get wet because they have a layer of protection. So this right view is very crucial for us to protect us from drowning in suffering. Yeah. In Vietnamese, I don't waste my time. In Vietnamese, we can say the word is vô sanh pháp nhẫn. This is just to hear and to forget. Yeah. Vô sanh pháp nhẫn. So we move on. The truths, we have talked about the Four Noble Truths, and now we talk about the relative truth. Oh, vô sanh pháp nhẫn means we can use the insight of no birth and no death, which is similar like this because that is. We will go into this insight later. And with this insight of no birth and no death, we are capable of tolerance, like Thầy Pháp Linh say, and at the same time transforming, taking care for the suffering. Now back to the relative truth and the absolute truth. Can you see something is about to manifest? Thai's beloved student. You remember Thai is doing that is Thai Dharma Zorro. You have seen the film Zorro? And this is Thai Zorro. And Thai and our ancestors are so passionate to show us the way how to make use of the insight to bring the two truths together. And that insight we call the wisdom of adaptation going along with emptiness. And emptiness here means there is no separate self. This is because that is. And emptiness here means is flowing, is not remain the same. Looking at our hands again. We have a birth certificate, like Sister Chung said, and hopefully no death certificate. Hopefully nobody dies, but we die. And that is the relative truth. Yeah. And now how to make use of that insight, the wisdom of adaptation going along with emptiness, to touch the absolute truth of no birth, no death. And no birth, no death, he means peace, happiness, true peace and true happiness, because we can come home. So how to make use of that insight? So looking at our hand, this is my hand. I have a birth certificate that year. But what happened if I touch the inside? I enter with my ancestors. Ancestors are in me. So my birth is not my begin, but my birth is a continuation of myself in the forms of my ancestors. Then we take out the fear of birth and of course the fear of death. Because we are already present in our ancestors, we don't have a begin, then have a end, isn't it? Yeah, and that is very concrete to practice. So when we eat, I'm feeding my ancestors. That means I'm feeding myself. So I touch my deeper sense of self. I have arrived, I'm home. Yeah? When I take a breath, a step, I walk together with my ancestor, with the Buddha, with Thai. I allow the Buddha and Thai to breathe and to walk for me. At that moment, I feel full and complete. I have arrived. I'm home. In the ultimate, I dwell, here and now. And that is bringing the true dimension, the true truth, the true dimension together. Relative and absolute. Yeah. Conventional dimension and ultimate dimension. So from the Zorro, it becomes one line. Truths inter-are. The relative truth and absolute truth inter-are. In Vietnamese, it's slightly different. It's thời để dung thông. It's not exactly inter-are. But here we make use of the language to express the insight. So make use of that no birth and no death. As an insight, as solidity and freedom to take care for the relative truth, the phenomena. So here is the, yeah. Yesterday there was a question, how the three dimensions inter-are. The historical dimension, this and the ultimate. And then we have the action. They inter-are thanks to the wisdom of emptiness, thanks to right view. This is because that is. And we can put it into practice. So I have arrived. I'm home. And remember the way the Four Noble Truths work when we take care for suffering. Then we need to make use of this right view. This is because that is. To dwell happily in the ultimate, the present moment. To take care for the suffering. And this has been mentioned in the Sutra Udana given by the Buddha. Sister Chân Đức mentioned in the first Dhamma talk. Now we would like to read Thai's poem, Oneness. I hope you have that in all the languages. Oneness. The moment I die, I will try to come back to you as quickly as possible. I promise it I promise it will not take long. Isn't it true? I am already with you as I die each moment. I come back to you in every moment. Yes, look, feel my presence. If you want to cry, please cry. And know that I will cry with you. The tears you shed will heal us both. Your tears are mine. The earth I tread this morning transcends history. Spring and winter are both present in the moment. The young leaf and the dead leaf are really one. My feet touch deathlessness, and my feet are your feet. Walk with me now. Let us enter the dimension of oneness and see the cherry tree blossom in the winter. Why should we talk about death? I don't need to die to be back with you. So lovely, isn't it? One more time. Yeah. The moment I die, I will try to come back to you as quickly as possible. I promise it will not take long. Isn't true? I'm already with you as I die each moment. I come back to you in every moment. Yes, look, feel my presence. If you want to cry, please cry. And know that I will cry with you. The tears you shed will heal us both. Your tears are mine. The earth I tread this morning transcends history. Spring and winter are both present in the moment. The young leaf and the dead leaf are really one. My feet touch deathlessness, and my feet are yours. Walk with me now. Let us enter the dimension of oneness and see the cherry tree blossom in the winter. Why should we talk about death? I don't need to die to be back with you. Let us play Namo Avalokiteshvara, touching that insight of Avalokiteshvara. No birth, no death, no being, no non-being. We enter. Here we don't have the screen. Sorry, I planned to show you something, but here we don't have the screen. And outside we do have the screen. This is the relative dimension, the relative truth. The water snake is eating a frog. You see? And this is a reality of life. And this reality, we need to really take it in order to generate compassion and at the same time the insight of interbeing, to liberate ourselves from the idea of separate self. When you eat a chicken, please take it in. I'm eating a chicken. When you eat a carrot, please take it in. I am eating a carrot. Mindfulness of eating. And from there, compassion and aspiration to serve as human beings on earth. Otherwise, we exploit, we destroy, and we are thinking only about ourselves as human beings, as survival. Okay. That's wonderful. Thank you. Now, please call me by my true names. My joy, like spring so warm, it fills all over the earth. My pain like a rivers of tears. No. My joy like spring so warm, it may flower blooms over the earth. My pain like a rivers of tears, so vast it fills the four oceans. Please call me by my true names, so I can hear all my cries and laughter at once, so I can see that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names, so that I can wake up and the door of my heart could be left open. The door of compassion. It is not to create guilt feeling in us as human beings, but a call for wake up for love, and from there, true happiness and true peace, touching the relative truth deeply with the pain and the suffering, we really have a chance to touch the ultimate, the inside of interbeing deeply in order to be compassionate, to be at peace on earth, and to serve. And we have this beautiful path to do it. We are not stuck in the cycle of food chains. We don't have to act like, oh, it's just a food chain. I just eat, otherwise I don't die. We eat with compassion. Yeah? Acting in that way. Eating a carrot, eating a cow, and so on. Eating a cherry in that spirit. Really eating, taking in and serving. We should stop at 11:15, something like that. 1 hour and a half. When we encounter the grieving of having lost our beloved ones, then this insight of interbeing between us and our beloved one can comfort us, may give us strength to go forward, to live for that loved one and together with that loved one. There is a saying by a brother, thanks to impermanence, then we continue each other forever, here and now. Yeah? Let's say our relationship with Thai, like this, inter-are. Then thanks to impermanence, then Thai continued us and we continue Thai. In the here, in the now. It's not Thai is going somewhere, taking us along in Thai's heart. That is a common collective human thinking about that. But in our tradition, as I have understood, we only can see Thai in the here, in the now. Nowhere else. And the here and the now is the 3 times, remember? That is dwelling in mindfulness, concentration inside. We can only be with Thai. We can only interact with Thai by being ourselves in the here, in the now. That is from outside, our perception. And Thai have said, I have 1,000 years for you. It means Thai is capable of dwelling in eternity, in the here, in the now. Thai is a master of dwelling happily in the present moment. Isn't it? So when can we see Thai? Now. And where can we see Thai? Here. So concrete, so logical. and so down to earth. Yeah. So if we say 500 years later, how can we see the continuation of Plum Village International Fourfold Community? How? 500 years later? Raise your hand. Yes? By dwelling happily in the here, in the now, and radiating that inside. Because 500 years is very short in relation to internal niti, here and now. So by dwelling happily in the here and now, continuing Thai, together with Thai, with our spiritual ancestors, we transmit, we build our future generations, and together with them we flow. Yeah. So each of us, if you may like to, may cultivate that aspiration to be confident, I can continue Thai. Yeah. Who may like to do it? Many of us, of course. Sometimes we feel tired. Thai legacy, oh my goodness. Too much on my shoulders. No? Wow. Sometimes I feel, oh my goodness, too much on my shoulders. And then I need to allow Thai to do it. Allow ancestors to do it for us. Because we have our limitation. I think I have covered everything. Wow. I can share a few stories. Or do you have questions you can ask? Is there any question? We have about 20 minutes. Yes? Can you give the mic?
Dear Thai, dear friends, thank you for your sharing. I have a question about doing with the anger. When we have anger come up, always we will think about right or wrong. I am right, and the one make me angry is wrong. And then I try to practice, but when I go to walking, I'm just thinking, oh, which point I'm right and which point he's wrong. And then I want to know how should I to practice. I understand that that person and I should be one. And then there is some, maybe he's suffering and then project what he is doing and then make me suffer as well. So I want to know more about dealing with the anger.
It's loving yourself. It's loving yourself. It's not about right and wrong. It's not outside. It's, oh, I'm suffering. I'm suffering. I'm angry, cause unpleasant feeling. So now it's time to love myself. Walking, breathing. I'm here for you, my anger. I know you are there. I'm here for you. Smiling like a big brother with a younger brother. You may like to allow them to share what is inside of you, because anger has reasons to be there. And then you may discover a lot of elements to love, to take care. And with compassion, then you can heal yourself. And from there, looking to the other person. But the first step is loving yourself. Loving yourself and then extending your compassion to the other. Yeah? Thank you. Yes? The microphone, please. Yeah.
You can hear me, right?
Clear and complete, but outside as well.
Dear Thai, dear community, this talk was very moving. A very close friend of mine, she lost her son last night. I found out when I woke up this morning, and her son is the same age as my children. And it really made me cry. And as I don't know how to comfort her in this time. I think it's if you lose your parent, if you lose, I've lost many friends, but when you lose your child, how can I be there for her, and then also be there for my own fear about that I could lose my own children if she can lose hers. Thank you.
Yeah, this is exactly the suffering that the Buddha has touched as well, and he would like to discover a way to take care for the suffering. The origin of fear, the existential fear, and that has to do with the way we perceive ourselves. So it's wonderful to acknowledge this fear. I'm here for you. To really, I'm here for you, my fear. And this is so deep down in every being. You saw the frog. Wow. And you saw the water snake. The water snake has to eat, other no life. And this fear has to do with the way we perceive ourselves in the term of being as a separate self. instead of seeing in the interconnectedness, interbeing way. So from perceiving ourselves as a being with separate self, then naturally we are very afraid of going into non-being. So we have here been birth, and naturally death. So this is the relative truth. It's the reality. Survival of the fittest. And luckily, you remember this Zorro. That is the way out. From birth, death, being and non-being, we touch the inside of interbeing, looking into our hands. This hand is possible because of my ancestors. I have never been born, and therefore I will never die. Like Thai said, a cloud never dies. I have arrived. I'm home in the here, in the now. I'm solid, I'm free. In the ultimate, I dwell. In the ultimate, we dwell in the inside of interbeing. Then we are peaceful. We are truly compassionate to take care for the suffering of birth and death, of losing. Can you see that? Yeah? It still hurts. It hurts. Look at the frog and the snake. It hurts. It's good that it hurts. Then we have a chance to really go down to the practice. Otherwise, we cannot take care for this endless suffering. So make an aspiration, make a vow. I need to go down and get the insight for myself, for my sons, and for my beloved ones. Otherwise, I get drowned in the collective suffering as well. So who can do it? Every one of us. We need to save ourselves. And this is just personal. There is a collective suffering. The COVID situation, the climate change. So we are on that boat. How can we stay calm, peaceful, and at the same time very compassionate and very engaged to embrace our personal and collective pain and offering refuge, offering comfort, offering support so that people can go back to themselves to generate their peace, their compassion as well. And together, as a river, we can do it and go through this difficult moment. offering our future, the young ones, their hope. Technology is wonderful, but it's not enough. It's not enough because if we do not change our way of living, there's no hope. If we do not change our way of walking, there's no hope. If we don't see, I have arrived, I'm home, in the here, in the now, I'm happy, then we run. And running is suffering. Sorry for strong words. I don't want to be strong. I think you got it. Thank you. 5 minutes. I promise to stop on time. Maybe a song. You can choose. Wonderful. Please join in. My joy lies spring so warm. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Sangha. Thank you, Thai. I would like to add, to make it round, one sentence with this. This is also Thai's upgrading Buddhism. By touching ourselves deeply, touching true peace, happiness, inside of no birth, no death, dwelling happily in the present moment, then we look with the eyes, every phenomenon, everything is a wonder. Already. Yeah? And that is so crucial. From there, from happiness, we take care for the pain of birth and death. Based on the perception of being and non-being, based on the perception I'm a separate self. Yeah? So, like here we sit in this hall, we just open the doors for fresh air. We don't have to generate fresh air from this hall only. Yeah? Fresh air is already there. Make use of the fresh air. I would like to add that. Thank you so much.